is it self-care, or is it just sort of like something else? Because like you get your nails done on a regular basis. Like, so is it something that nourishes you? Is it something that restores you?
Yes, getting my nails done restores me. No, it's all of that. It's my nails done and feet done is self-care, self-awareness, and self-love all in one.
Okay. No, because I asked that because I think it's important for us to recognize that a lot of times when we say self-care, and particularly in my field of social work, we sort of use it as a sort of catchphrase, right? It becomes sort of like, oh, go get your nails done.
Right.
When it's like, for some people, like, so we have to really think about, we need to nourish ourselves. We need to, like, self-care isn't really about what we are doing to restore and replenish so we can go back out into the world and do what it is that we do. And so sometimes for some people, it's just getting your nails done is just a part of your daily thing that you do.
So maybe that's not self-care.
I feel the same way. You know how I am about my nails. So but I don't think that's self-care.
But that's what I mean. But for you being in the makeup industry,
yeah.
But for you being in the makeup industry, like for you, that could just be a part of your daily, like your work. You have to look a certain way.
Okay.
So it may not be self-care.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying? But it may very well be self-care. But that's why I wanted to ask the question so we can start to really distinguish, unpack what we mean.
I don't
by
want to unpack it. I just want my nails and feet done.
Okay.
No, but I mean, I guess for me, okay, now that you said it that way, I get it. So this is just a part of me, just me. Like, I have to have my nails done and my feet done. Like, that's important to me just because I don't understand why you don't. But, so maybe that's not. So I feel like maybe self-care to me, if I think about it in that way, is more so of me taking stock, like taking account of what I'm doing, like am I good? Like, where am I at? Especially for someone who has suffered from depression, like I have to check in with myself, make sure I'm good in terms of that. Like, where's my head at today? How am I? So that's how I feel like maybe that's more, which it still becomes a daily, something I do, but it is to me a part of self-care because it's more of me being self-aware.
And it could be a happy place. Your happy place.
Right.
That's right. And that's why I was saying it can still be self-care, but because it is so much a part of who you are.
And I'm thinking like the self-care is necessarily like when you feel you're breaking down in a certain way. So if I feel like I'm overwhelmed, I'm stressed, I'm whatever, and I need a minute to acknowledge that, one, and then to say, what am I going to do to help me feel a little better, whether it's mentally, physically, whatever.
Right. So you take stock in that way. So you like check in and say, hey, where am I at now? So what do I need to do in order to check whatever that is?
Yes.
So how do you feel about that? Like, what are you finding when people are you finding many people practicing self-care in that way?
So, I think that it's like Victoria said, sometimes the easier pieces of getting your hair done, getting your nails done, going to take a bath, it's gotten a bad rap recently, right? It's like, oh, I'm just going to be self-indulgent, right? So I like to go a little bit deeper with it and say, like, that's not actually self-indulgent. First of all, this is what you need to do to take care of yourself, to feel like yourself. So for me, self-care is anything that's going to help me feel more like myself in a day, right? And so I've actually started calling it my survival care instead of my self-care, because it's like what I need. Like, life is always coming at us, and I do trauma resolution, so I'm holding space for people with some heavy things that come in, and I'm teaching a lot of students, and so there's a lot of people that I'm coming into contact with who are in different levels of growth, so I've got to make sure that I'm good. And it took a really long time for me to realize how much self-care I needed before I would be actually really ready to be present with the people in my life, not just my clients and my students, but with my family too. And so I definitely have these red flags, right? When I feel like, oh, there's no time for that, when I start to feel the resistance to doing the things that I know, right? So exercise is a big thing for me. I try to walk every day. So when I start to feel that, oh, I don't need to go and walk, I don't need to go and take a bath, I don't need to go and meditate or pray or do my yoga, that's when I know that actually that's the thing that I need to do. And so it's just about going deeper and really coming up with a routine that for me, it's like every day, right? So there are some things that happen every day, some pieces that I do every day, some pieces that I do once a week, some pieces that I do once a month, some pieces that I do seasonally, and I try to make a plan for myself that is workable no matter how much time I have, because sometimes I have 5 minutes, right? So those are the things that I see that people say, oh, I don't have enough time and I don't have enough money, but it doesn't have to be expensive, right? So when I work with folks, it's always like, what's the smallest thing you can do? What's one small thing that you can do to change, to give to yourself, right? And then you get into that whole deeper level of, okay, well, how much do I deserve to give to myself?
Right.
That's
Right.
what I was just thinking.
Yeah, because I mean, I think that we often are challenged with, like you said, the time. Like, how much time do I need, and how much time? Honestly, I think it's almost like, how much time do you think you deserve?
Right.
Because sometimes we feel like
Right.
we don't deserve to do this,
That's
or
right.
you know, my family. If I have kids, I have a partner, I have whatever, work, all these different things. And I think I posted on my Instagram about that quote from the guy from Hangover. I always forget his name, Zach somebody. But he was saying basically like we hold this highest level of we have to be doing something
grind.
great.
Be grinding.
Constantly grinding. And it's like, when do you rest? Like where do we make time for that and allow ourselves to just, sometimes we need to be down. You know, and down doesn't mean out though. Because I think sometimes people think like, if I'm down, that means that's it, I'm out the game, I'm not doing, which is how we always talk about social media and how those things make you feel like you should be constantly doing something.
That's right.
And so do you, go ahead.
I actually like the fact that you mentioned that it doesn't have to be something that's expensive. Because at a point when I feel like I need my self-care the most, the most inexpensive thing that I can do that helps me recenter and regain my sense of self is to say no. And I feel like
That's
so often as women and mothers
That's a
and
big
just black women in general, we feel like we have to always have that superwoman syndrome and go and cater to and fix and do, and to have a selfish moment and say no, not today.
I think that's where the shirt. Here's one of our shady tees here. Yeah.
Move the mic out the way.
Yeah, you gotta see. The people gotta see the shirt.
What the people see.
Okay, you see
Yeah,
that?
turn to this one.
There you go.
Yeah.
You gotta give my camera some love too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shady
So that's the
tee.
shirt. That's our shady tee.
It says, yeah, it's a no.
I mean, sometimes you gotta.
It's a boundary. It's a boundary shirt.
It is.
It's a boundary shirt.
I love boundaries.
Yeah, you got, because you have to set them. And like you're saying, Kristen, like sometimes we forget that that's a complete sentence.
Right, it is.
No.
I don't need to explain to you why it's no. I don't need to ask for your forgiveness for my no. I don't need you to understand my no. There's no justification for it. It is what it is. That is all.
Right. Yeah. And so are you I know for you, like, I mean, you wear many hats in terms of being a professor. You have your practice. You are active in your community in terms of the people you serve. So where do you find, I know you practice self-care already, but how did you get to that point? Because that's important, because sometimes it's a process to get there, right?
It is a process. It's a process. That's a good question. I think I got to it when I started working as a social worker, and I didn't know anything about, I didn't know the language, didn't know anything about, and I was so stressed out. And I just think over time, and actually my students asked me this the other day, sort of like, how has my self-care routine evolved? And I think over time, my body was sending me messages of how stressed I was from the work. And I knew I had to respond. So I just started responding like reacting to like, oh, my eye is twitching, or oh, I'm really tight. So I started just doing things because I'm like, I don't feel well. So I just started doing things in response to what was going on. And so then from there, I started gaining the awareness of like, oh, okay, this work and what I'm doing is contributing to this.
Right.
If I'm going to stay in this profession, I'm going to have to make this a part of my life. They didn't teach me that in school.
Right.
So I had to figure out, how do I continue to be on call, on the weekends and like still be okay? How am I going to do this work where I'm giving of myself and like physically be okay? Because I saw other social workers eating horrible diets, working crazy hours, and just like from a health standpoint, not being
Crashing.
well.
They're crashing.
They were crashing, and I was just like, I don't want to be like that. So I started doing different things. It didn't become a Wednesday thing until over time I started, for whatever reason, it was like the middle of the week, I would go and get a margarita and have like a guacamole and chips platter. And like, it sort of became, and I love rituals in general, and that sort of became a ritual for me. But I hadn't named it anything. It was just like, oh, it's Wednesday. Let's go get, have a margarita.
Right.
And so then I was just sort of like, this actually feels good to pause in the middle of the week and do one thing that's just for me to like be okay.
Right.
And that's how it became Wednesday is my self-care day.
Right.
And so I don't spend the whole day luxuriating, but I make sure that on Wednesday, so now my Wednesday morning, Like I work on my finances. Like I check my account, I check my balance, like I make sure I'm good for the rest of the week. And I just make sure I do one thing throughout the day that's not work, that's just for me. Sometimes this is it. Coming here is part of it.
Right.
Like if I do nothing else, I know I'm gonna have a good time with my girls.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I just make sure that I do one thing on Wednesday.
Right.
That's just for me.
And do you go ahead?
No, so I'm just curious, what does a wellness day for you look like? Because with you dealing with the type of clients or patients that you see, like that's a lot to carry leaving out.
Right.
So what does that look like?
So I try to manage that on a daily basis. I try not to let it build up. But I take Mondays for my wellness day. I tend to work on Saturdays, so I do Mondays so I can have 2 consecutive days off. So Mondays are my day, and I might walk a little longer. I might go out for a hike. I might do yoga. I might do any number of the things that make me feel good. And really, it's I wake up in the morning and go, what's going to make me feel the best today? And I do that thing, and I do it guilt-free. And sometimes that thing is, I need to go back to bed. You mentioned rest and getting real rest, and that was a thing that I did not know how to do for years until it caught up with me, and it was really making an impact on my health. And I just found myself exhausted and realized, oh, even when I'm laying down, I'm not resting. I'm making a list in my head of all the things that
That's
I
what
should
we
be
do.
doing, right? That's not real rest. So I gave myself permission to really rest, and that's a big piece of it too.
And I wonder if I know for like I said, we all wear many hats and we're doing different things, and we find ourselves at that point where there is no time. And at what point do you find many of your clients at that, like when they come to you, are they at the point of, some people are already, like I know you mentioned that they are at different stages, but are you finding more of your clients at the point of, that's it, I'm at my breaking point, or do you find them at, like where do you most of your clients like lie?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because they do come everywhere on the spectrum, and some people definitely are, like Victoria came and was like, I just am here for my self-care day.
Right.
And then it's easier because
and sleep, right.
And we don't have to unpack a lot there, right? We don't have to do a whole lot to get her back to center. But some people come in the middle of crisis, right? When life just feels overwhelming. But more folks are actually coming to see me after the crisis is over, right? And that is, that's a part of it, right? It's like, because the work is about trauma resolution, it's about integrating those pieces that got laid on during the really hard times and helping you unlayer them, right? So I actually don't want to see you right in the middle of a crisis, because right in the middle of a crisis, your body is doing everything that it can to survive, right? So it's really after the crisis has ended that folks are coming to see me, or if they've done a lot of work on their mental health or spiritual health and want to start to ground that back into the body, right? Because it is all a body-based therapy. Then they start to come and see me. Or if they're having symptoms, I get a lot of folks who have gone to see, what the story is, I've seen everybody else. I've done everything else, and no one has an answer. And we can start to look at where that story starts to show up in the body. So that's where people are coming usually.
Right.
I was just going to ask if you could explain more about when you say body work, because not, a lot of our watchers, listeners may not necessarily know what that means, because again, we often think about self-care, body work, massage as a luxury.
Yes.
I can't afford that. So when we say body work, what does that mean?
So I am a licensed massage therapist. That gives me a license to touch bodies in Maryland. And I'm also a registered craniosacral therapist. So craniosacral therapy is a hands-on, very gentle approach to working with all of the different systems of the body. Mostly we work with the nervous system, so patterns of fight, flight, freeze. When you get really stressed out, it's your nervous system that is on board, keeping you alive and safe. I also work a lot with the organs, so clients come in, they keep their clothes on, we do a little bit of grounding, a little bit of meditation, and then we start with whatever area of their body is calling their attention. And then we see what's held there, we see what needs to be unfolded there, and what could be given more attention. A lot of times we have these busy lives where things are moving so fast, and we feel like we don't have time for ourselves. And when we do have time for ourselves, we're not taking it to notice, oh, what's happening with this shoulder, or what's happening with my hip, or what's happening with this knee. It's, okay, that's a symptom, and let me get past it just to keep moving on with my day, because I have other things to do.
I'm sorry, she's looking at me.
Because I'm thinking,
She's looking at me because, so we can just let
I'm sorry.
the world know that my
I thought I was
back.
discreetly
No,
letting
you
you
weren't
know.
discreet. Everyone saw you shift to me when she said things happening in your body, and then you turned and looked at me like it was almost like,
Your body.
So yeah, your body. So what happened was I was at the gym yesterday, and the day before yesterday, and something happened. Like all of a sudden, like my body just cringed up, and then it was like I couldn't move. But when you over 40, just regular. That's just Monday.
That's just
you know
Monday,
what I'm saying?
Right. It's getting up.
And so I wasn't sure. So anyway, I went to the chiropractor. I've had problems with my back before, but I went to my chiropractor, and he got me all shifted back in. But sometimes, like you're saying, like I wonder something else was going on. Like you're saying, because we do chalk it up to just be, I'm over 40, so that's just regular old whatever. But not realizing that something else could be happening. And there's a lot of things that I know I've seen within myself as I pay more, because I feel like the older you get, you do pay more attention to what's happening in your body. Like when you're in your 20s, it's just a regular old day. You like, girl, I fell and broke my whole arm, and then you at the club that night. You don't even think about it.
Right.
But we don't take, really, it was because you was drunk, you slipped,
you fell on the concrete,
you fell on the curb,
right.
You know what I'm saying? The dude had your car, you couldn't get home. But anywho.
But when you 40 and
40,
fall and break your arm,
you fall and break your
you're
arm.
on FMLA.
Right. You're out. You're out
for the year.
Right. Like, she ain't coming back, right? Like, but, and we laugh about it, but it's true. Like, it's those certain signs within our body that we may not pay attention to. We just think it's just simple, like physical. Mm-hmm. But you're saying that some of these things are related to other things that are going on within your body.
Yeah, and so what we look for is patterns, right? So it's that thing in your back. Okay, you went to the chiropractor and resolved. Amazing, great. Then that's not why you don't need to come and see me for that. You go see your chiropractor.
Right.
Oh, it's that thing in your back again? And again, and again, and it's not resolving.
Right.
So then we start to look at, okay, what are the other things that could be, right? Is that being held in a deeper place than just the back? Is it maybe being held in one of the organs, in the lungs, right? Is there an emotional component to that?
So does that often kind of bring people aware to certain things? So like for something, if it's in another organ or something, and then you go get it looked at by your doctor, and it's like, is that what pretty much the...
So sometimes, and I think I understand this. Like, am I working with you and then going, I'm noticing something in your lung, and then you go to the doctor and then they say, it's
you have
X,
cancer.
area. So what does that necessarily mean?
Yeah, so this is a good question. So this is the difference between what I do in a more holistic approach and a more clinical Western medicine approach.
Okay.
So a lot of times I'm seeing folks when things are subclinical, right? So if you go to your doctor, they're looking for a really specific reading on tests that have certain numbers within a really clear and certain parameter that are telling you, okay, you're healthy from here to here. And then from here to here, there's dysfunction. And then from here to here, there's illness, right? And so that's not how I look at the body at all. It just is going, okay, there's a symptom there. What is that telling us, right? I can't always say like, there's going to be something wrong that's going to need to be treated if there is something that shows up as a pattern. For me, it's, your body's trying to tell you something. And it's just going to keep getting louder until you listen. Right. And you can listen with your general practitioner. You can listen with me. But I tend to work more with things before they get to that level of dysfunction, before they get to that
where
level.
Where they need medication and all that.
Or if there's been so much medication for so much time and it's not doing any good anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what do you tell, like for people who, think that it's okay to have a Slim Jim?
Have your Slim Jim.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I will have the damn Slim Jim.
Yeah.
How about that?
Tell you supposed to go against the Slim Jim.
It's a good source of protein. There's 11 grams of protein in that Slim Jim.
That's a good try.
Yeah, because eating is such a personal thing. And you're going to be more stressed standing in line, looking at the Slim Jim, waiting to not have the Slim Jim than having the Slim Jim.
I went from having several packs of cookies to having one Slim Jim.
Don't do it. I say no to the Slim Jim. The Slim Jim had too much sodium. We looked at the back on the sodium.
She was like, the mission was sugar, not sodium.
The mission was sugar.
I'm sorry, but it said 14 grams of protein, but when I saw the sodium, I said
2,000 milligrams
of sodium. No.
She's like, but it's not sugar.
Right. No, but I mean, I wonder sometimes, it is baby steps. But I think even with that, like you're saying, I think. Also, you mentioned Victoria, where we think that it is a luxury to to see someone like yourself, to
Yes.
like, it's like, oh, that's for other people,
That's
people
right.
who have money, or,
Yes.
that's not where I'm at, or I can't afford this, that, and the other. And can you kind of give people an idea of, are there other things? I mean, one, we definitely think I want to support Black-owned business. I think we want to make sure that, because you're definitely needed, especially in our community,
Yes.
just because we deal with so many things other than just being. But can you give people like an idea of other things that they can do to kind of like just practice, even if they can't come to see you, but they can, like, what's one thing you would suggest that they can do to even get to a place,
And that's so great, right? Because you can't come to see me every day, right? Even people who can come to see me once a month, twice a month for a short period of time, they can't come to see me every day. And I don't want to see you every day because the work is yours to do.
Right.
It's mine to do.
Can you tell me how to, like, look, enough.
You can figure it out. So I work with people on self-care plans, right? And so what that looks like is we look at what's happening in their body in the moment, the things that I've noticed while they're on the table, the things that they've noticed while they're on the table, and then they go home with lots of things to do, lots of options,
Nice.
right? And so what I would say for somebody who isn't ready to come in for a one-on-one visit, the biggest thing for my own healing and for my own noticing, and the biggest thing that I think that this light touch therapy offers is self-awareness, internal awareness. And so just spending a few minutes a day noticing what's happening in your body doesn't take a long time. You could spend 1 minute, you could spend 5 minutes, you could spend 20 minutes. But this is the self-awareness piece that for me, when I realized this, it was like, it just opened everything up, because I was really defining myself for years as, right, how other people see me, how other people perceive me. My worth and my value is based on external circumstances. When I realized that I could really get to know myself from the inside, I started having an existential crisis, right? I'm like, I don't have time to doubt the world and question the world. I don't have time for that right now, so I need to figure it out real quick. Realizing that I could do the work to notice my body from the inside out, and that would be how I get to know myself, really and truly know myself, that was huge. So that's the thing that I recommend to people, is spend a little bit of time. If something doesn't feel right or something feels off, spend a little bit of time there, because our first inclination, if something hurts or doesn't feel good, is to not notice it. Right. Is to
Like
just
ignore it. Right.
So I would just say, notice it.
Yeah.
See what's there. Spend a little bit of time. Can you put your breath there? Can you put your attention there? Can you close your eyes for 5 minutes and just ask your body what's going on?
Right.
And sometimes you might notice nothing. It takes a little bit of time to develop that sense of being able to notice what's happening in your body. But it actually changes the way that your brain works. The more time you try to feel your feet, right, your brain starts to rewire itself and make these new connections, so that, right, instead of, oh, I have nothing there, I'm just sort of walking around floating, it's like, oh, there are bones and muscles and ligaments, and just noticing that, just noticing what's going on in your body. That's what I would say.
How closely do you work with therapists? Because that seems like, I know a lot of people who, when they do have these issues where things are breaking down and not functioning properly, a lot of it is psychological. Yeah. And from what you're just saying, allowing your brain to kind of process and figure out what's going on and where, do you work closely with therapists?
I work a lot with people who are in therapy,
okay.
Right? And so it really is the body-based piece of it. And so my job isn't to offer solutions, to offer cognitive behavioral therapy or any of those interventions. But sometimes when more emotional, psychological things come up, because from my experience, the body is where our unconscious lives, right? So all those things that you don't want to deal with, weren't ready to deal with, weren't thinking that you needed to deal with, all lives in here. And so when things like that come up for people, it's great to be able to go, and now you have a topic for your next session with your mental health practitioner.
And I just wonder, like, people, even for like a practice like yourself, and because tell us the name of it again.
Craniosacral therapy.
Did she just point out my nail?
Because I didn't notice it until you said something. Now I just keep saying it.
We trying to be serious. And she
repeat the name. Repeat your business again, because we just got derailed by the nail.
I'm sorry. Repeat the name again.
Craniosacral therapy.
And so for something like, even like to get people to go to therapy, and people are still feeling some sort of way about going to therapy. I'm finding just what I've seen in just day to day. I mean, I've benefited from therapy. And I know what it can do, and I think some people are just unclear about the level of therapy they need.
Right.
and that they are out here, you know, thinking they living their best life. And what I'm here to tell you that you're not.
It's a no.
I'm saying you're missing a few steps,
Yeah.
right? And so are you finding, like, especially for our community, and I want to speak to Black women in particular, where we are trying to manage and cope and survive and
Without tools.
and find ourselves dealing with unspoken trauma, I want to say, because sometimes we don't even know we've even been through a trauma.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Because
it's so normalized.
it's so, right. So we think it's just normal. Like, this is just how it's
just how it is.
I never forget when I mentioned something to my therapist, and she was like, "No, that was trauma." I'm like,
That's right.
"I'm sorry, what? Trauma?"
No, I said the
like
same
this is
thing.
I
That's
thought
right.
this was just what it was. She was like,
That's
"No,
right.
that's trauma."
No, I said the same thing to an ex-girlfriend of mine. She was describing her situation. I was like, I said, I used the word survive. I was like, well, you're a survivor. She was like,
Of what?
of what?
I'm sorry. You mean survivor?
I was like, of trauma.
Right. We don't
Yeah.
realize.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I'm sure you have clients who come in who are experiencing what they may not know or identify as trauma. But it is something happening in their body, but they're living and they don't even realize. So can you kind of speak to...
Well, yeah, and the nice thing about the body work is that we don't have to relive the story with it.
Okay.
So people don't have to say it was X, Y, and Z and then make the meaning out of that, right?
They do that with me.
I send them to Victoria.
Right, with
for
her.
that,
Yeah.
right? With me, I look at, okay, there's a holding here in the shoulder, and there's some chronic pain, and there's some chronic tension, and let's look at that in the context of the rest of your life. And so what can happen then is that memories and emotions of, oh, that time I got into that car accident, or that time that I got hit by that thing,
Right.
can start to come up. And then people make that connection of, oh, it's this and that, and now I have a bigger context for my life. But it's true, right? There is such a normalization of boundary violations, boundary overrides in our community, right? That makes it feel normal. Yeah. And this tendency when we are survivors, when we have lived through something, to go, oh, it wasn't that bad.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
That was just the thing that happened to me. It wasn't that bad because I know
I'm
4 or
over
5
it.
other people.
So we think.
Yeah.
So we think.
That have lived through way worse.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And why is that we tend to think that it's all about, that's the measure of your womanhood or being a Black woman, the measure of how much trauma or drama you've been through. That tells the world that look how strong I am. I know I handle. Like, I don't always want to be Olivia Pope.
Right.
Like, everything don't have to be handled because sometimes
look at her.
Yeah.
Look at her.
Mess with the white hat on.
That's right. That's right. She was fly to death, but
yeah.
she was a little off.
But you're a mess.
She was a little off.
And so I'm just like, I know these are kind of things we talk about on a regular basis. Like, we just have these kind of girl talks and we like, girl, you know, this, that, and the other. But it's good to have that village of people who can say sometimes, you know, you need to get yourself together. Like, I'm seeing some things. I'm seeing some things and things are playing out. You may not recognize it, but me as your friend is telling you, don't eat the Slim Jim. Because I know with the Slim Jim, first a Slim Jim, then it'll be a lemon cookie from Panera. It's a slippery slope. Like, you just slide right into it. I'm just saying sometimes.
But I think to piggyback on that.
That's what I'm saying. On the Slim Jim. Since it's on the table, talk about the Slim Jim.
No, I actually want to piggyback on the what you were saying about the things that we don't necessarily see ourselves, but our village will see it. Because Tell, you and I had a conversation about this, and I thought this was so great because I hadn't thought about it. You were like, you love the name of the show, A Side of Shade, because you took shade to a whole different level, like more therapeutic level. Because you were so. Can you explain? So we define shade as, you know, you can throw shade with your sister because she's part of your village. So we could throw shade about the Slim Jim because I know your struggle, and I'm pointing out that you're on a detox and you're eating a Slim Jim.
But it's protein.
See, she didn't know that. You got to give her the full story. You're on a detox.
It's protein. It's high in protein.
See, it's
in
a
the
detox.
detox. So I was come back here.
And I would be less concerned about the sodium and more concerned about all the chemicals they put in it for your detox. Yeah.
Gotta put it in context.
Yeah.
We gotta put it in context.
She didn't know. She had a full story. She thought you just wanted the Slim Jim. She
I
didn't
for
know.
indulgence, right?
Right.
And every once in a while, indulgence. I didn't know.
I'm sorry.
it's more than
I'm sorry.
every
I just needed to explain that, like, the shade around the Slim Jim was because we know her, we love her, we can hold her accountable.
Right. The
so
hugging,
and we can hug it out, keep it moving. But you added a whole different perspective. I'm sorry.
We're not.
We'll come back. We'll put a pin in that.
Let's tell about
But
it.
you put a different perspective on shade. Can you talk about that?
So I really saw it as shadow, right? So the shadow being like the things we don't want to talk about, the taboos, the things that we're like, we want to keep it undercover or keep it in the closet. I was talking to my husband before I was getting ready to come, and I was like, oh, what if because I'm a big taboo talker, right? There's no shame, there's no taboos. I like to bring it all up. I'm like, what if we have to talk about sex? What if we have to talk about money? What if we have to talk about all the things?
You are right to play.
Yeah.
We have to talk about all the things that nobody wants to
come
talk
on in.
about. Right. I'm like, because I always talk about them. And I was this side of shade, right? So they've got to talk about the shadow because that is the name of the show.
Right.
All the shadowy things that culturally we are taught to not speak about. Let's bring them up into the light with love, right? With the most amount of love possible.
Right.
And so I appreciate that hug.
Yeah.
Because it shows exactly.
I mean, she knows we care about it. I mean,
It's not
no, we do. But I mean, like, and
even the hug was shaky.
even it was like this.
I don't feel convinced.
No, but I mean, it is. I mean, that's what we do. I mean, it's the love we give each other. I feel like where only that person can do it. Like, I may not accept it from just any old person down the street, like saying like, "What's up? Why you eating the Slim Jim?" But it's like none of your business, you know.
Right.
But if it's someone you love and I know you have a goal in mind.
Right.
I do you a disservice if I don't at least acknowledge.
It's a healthy snack. All right, now
It's not a healthy snack, but anyway.
I have
But
an
what?
alternative.
Okay, great. See, she has something for
Thank
you.
you.
But I mean, with dealing with, as we talk about trauma and that sort of thing, I'm just thinking about some of the things that are in the news where, you know, people are clearly dealing with May being Mental Health Awareness Month. We first must acknowledge that.
Yep.
And that we are dealing with a lot of that where people just, and I wasn't going to say unspoken, but people have labeled it, you know, whether it be crazy or something's wrong with them or this, that, but not really dealing with the core of it. And that mental health is really an issue in our community.
That's right.
And that we can label it as the crazy uncle in the basement. But at the end of the day, is it though? Like,
That's
it's
right.
something else. Like, let's stop keeping
That's
him in
right.
the basement and maybe he needs additional help. You just bringing down a plate and his orange juice every day is not cutting it. That's not enough. And so I think sometimes as a community, we want to mask it and let's not talk about our business, and which has really hurt more of us than it has helped.
That's right.
And hiding behind that. And I think I'm sure within your clients, that some of those aches and pains are the hurt and pain from things that we dealt with and had to mask and not talk about, or, you know, we were ashamed of. And it just concerns me for our community when I see people like, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, the whole Bill Cosby thing, like when I think about the women and all that they dealt with and all that, I mean, his wife, his
That's
kids.
right. It's not just
like
him.
It's not just him. It's not you just out here drugging people and getting your own feels on people. There's people behind that who have to deal with the residual of you and your actions, right?
right.
So then there's a level of trauma that everybody has to deal with.
It's a trail of trauma, is what
Yes.
I've been saying.
It's
a trail of trauma.
Victims, your wife, your children.
That's right.
The world, the
who
people who
walk-
thought you
That's
was
right.
who thought you
to a
was
certain
the
standard.
father of the whole America. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, do you find that
The whole
people,
America.
literally the whole America, everybody was like he was the father,
Yeah.
like he was
That was
America's
With the
dad.
with the funky sweaters and the pudding pops.
Yes.
Like that.
And now you out here drugging people.
And now you're a
And
rapist.
you can never look like at a couple put in the same way.
Never.
Ghost
Like
Dad.
I don't even think I think they even stopped selling
Ghost
pudding
Dad
pops.
was an amazing. I love that movie.
Oh, Ghost, I forgot about that.
It's never the
movie.
same.
No.
Even when I look at the Cosby Show now, it's just not the same. And then you think about the people on the show.
Right.
So then they have to deal with the level of that
Yeah.
trauma, whatever they dealt with.
Watching things happen that you can't say anything about
And you
or don't
thought
want to say
something but
anything
didn't wanna
about
say.
it. Right.
Because you want to keep your job.
Because
Right.
you want to keep your job.
You want to, right, and that's the piece, right? Like that shame piece of like, do I speak up? Do I want to keep my job? Do I speak up? What happens to my family if
That's
I say
right.
the thing?
Yeah, see?
Right?
All of that.
It's a trail of
And we
trauma.
carry, like you're saying, we carry all of that in our body. Like every inch of, you know, hurt, pain, you know, and it doesn't necessarily have to be physical. Meaning like somebody that didn't slap me in my face or punch me in my eye,
That's right.
but that doesn't mean that there's not wounds there.
That's right. Well, because I think about my mom, and you know, we were talking about this the other day, and there were things that when I finally asked her about who she was as a woman, and she was able to tell me her story, she was able to tell me how she witnessed things. Before she herself had actually experienced any trauma, she witnessed it happening around her. So that automatically shaped how she was going to live as a Black woman in the segregated South. Right? Like that shaped her view of men. That shaped her understanding of boundaries. That shaped her understanding of sex. Just from her witnessing things and not understanding what she was seeing, not being able to talk about it, not being able to actually put it in any kind of context. And so now 70 years later, still feeling.
And what do we, and I'm glad you brought that up, because what I find interesting is that there's where we have to allow for the evolution of people, because I may not have been okay with certain things years ago because, again, like you said, this is what I know. This is what I've been taught. So you gotta allow people to evolve and understand that you don't have to do it that way. It can be managed a different way, or you can address it in this kind of way. I.e., the things that you do, like those people need to know that there's options. Like I don't have to carry it.
That's right. I don't have to carry it. I don't have to carry it alone. And I think between the talk therapy and the body work, that's part of what we try, at least what I try to explain to clients, is that, I tell clients when they come in that, because I had a client not too long ago who was just crying and crying and crying out, and she kept trying to stop herself. And I see that a lot. Clients try to stop themselves from crying. And so I'm constantly saying, you let it out, like give it voice. You can let it happen. And just the whole thing of, I haven't been able to, like that's not allowed in my family. I'm not. So imagine you grew up not being able to cry around your family because they're gonna call you crazy, or they're gonna think whatever,
weakness,
or it's a sign of weakness as a man or what have you. So where is that going?
And I do. But do you have a lot of male clients, or is it mainly?
I have some male clients. It's mostly female clients. So.
Because I just wonder, like, I often wonder, where do men go? Yes, because I mean, it's. Like I feel like not to say that we don't hide in our own situations, but I feel like we have our friends, and I don't know that a lot of men do that. I don't know if Diamond can speak to that. Like, where do you go to relieve
and process
things that you're dealing with and going with? Or no, I do. We need to know, because I think it's important. Because I mean, what do you do with all of that pent up stuff? Whatever you're dealing with.
Emotions and feelings that like when you witness things and experience things that hurt you, harm you, you feel sad about, like where do you as a male go to process that? Do you go anywhere to process it?
No.
See?
No. You don't go anywhere to process. So
you don't process?
No, I mean, not like in the sense, not in the sense that y'all do, because even though we're more, I'm not trying to get into another debate here, but even though we tend to be a bit more on the logical side,
no, it's true.
We don't actually use logic with this. Y'all tend to be a little bit more on the emotional side, but y'all more logical when it comes to self-care and that kind of stuff. We don't even think about that kind of stuff. Like, that's not even a conversation that we have. But I mean, I guess the closest thing would probably be sports, or
So that's an outlet.
I say it would be an outlet. Fighting, boxing each other, wrestling, you know what I mean?
So it's a form
I don't want to see,
but it's not really
still boxing each other?
They might arm wrestling, like any little competition that we can have amongst
Right. It's great when you
I come into your office at work.
it out of the body.
Racing at the light.
I come in your office at work.
What you got? Put your money on the table.
Any kind of
I just had a meeting.
Right.
Any kind of competition thing.
Right. So I guess that's true. I guess gambling.
Yeah.
That too.
Yeah.
That's different.
You say, wait a minute, let's unpack that.
Right.
But
is the house money or
which account?
It doesn't involve it doesn't involve us getting our nails done,
right? Well,
or
I get it.
Or eating,
combing or no eating,
right? Or come and call your girlfriend. Because this was so funny, because my husband, like, when we get on the phone, you talk to your girlfriend, like, girl, get so. And you're like, what's up? Like, this is what we do. Like, we just sit on the phone and just like, girl, I can't believe it, girl.
My ex-husband used to say all the time, because that was back in the day when we had the answer machine.
Oh,
I would let the answer machine play. My friends would be just going on the answer machine. He would just be like, These messages are so long.
This is what we do.
Just say who you are.
Right. And that back. Right.
Maybe like, girl, let me tell you about what
Right.
You gotta get it out before you forget.
Right.
That's right. And then be like, call me back.
Right, call me back. I said,
Girl, let me tell you how I just saw Tanya down there in the thing with doing the thing.
Right.
Thing. All right, call me back when you get this.
That's right.
You like,
Oh, that's terrible.
That's right.
but that's what we do. Like, I guess as women, this is how we process.
Well,
Yeah.
it's tend and befriend, right? They have labeled it. They have labeled every little bit of behavior.
That's right.
We can like turn
Because we
to page
ruminate.
157.
That's right. It's in my textbook.
Right,
My
right.
mindfulness
Tend and
class.
befriend. So there's,
Absolutely.
like, it's a
Tend and
way that
befriend.
we process.
That's right.
Right.
We can be more verbal about it. We can be in conversation and relationship. We can release all of the nice feel-good hormones when we do it, and that
Right.
makes us better. For some of the for men, right? It's a more physical expression, right?
Yeah.
I've got patterns. I'm really angry. What am I going to do with that? Well, I need to fight someone. I need to get.
I'm
that
sorry,
out.
like-
I think it's different. I can't speak for Diamond, but I can speak for some men that I know that it looks a little different. That they do the
Sure.
self-care without really knowing or acknowledging
right.
What they're
it.
doing.
It is the going to the
What you
cigar
mean?
lounge, just going to
Nice.
the cigar lounge with your homies, getting your shape ups done, and having guy talk in the barbershop.
Yeah.
It is. You
But
know
I
what I'm
don't
saying?
think, going to the barbershop is not
It's something you do.
self-care from the standpoint of, I had a bad day, let me go get a haircut. It's not like that. We get a haircut because we need a haircut.
But it
But
could be
it's
the
not
calling
like,
up the homeboy, like, you know what I'm saying? Hey, let's go out and grab a drink real quick.
Sure.
Not knowing that I had a really fucked up day and I need to go talk to my homeboy. Like, it's never gonna come out like, yo, I had a real hard day.
Right, let
Like,
me
just
talk
come-
about it.
let me
I
talk
need
about
that.
it real
Right.
quick.
But I don't
We got-
picture.
It's not
I don't
gonna
picture anybody saying.
let's go shoot some pool. Let's
Right.
go to the
Yeah.
like let's go
No,
do something else.
so
Well, I think you
how I'm
process.
picturing is a
But it
conversation
ain't
like,
self-care.
hey, yo,
And that-
Diamond, yo, I need to hook up, yo, I need to unpack this shit. Like, you're not gonna.
Nah. Nobody never said that to you. before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When we all girl,
Yeah, I gotta process.
I gotta process.
Get
Yeah,
your tissue.
I
Get
will
the
say
wine.
this.
That's fair.
We will do this like if somebody like just broke up with their girl or something. We
Okay.
may hit the club or something
Okay,
like that.
right,
or go
right.
out.
Right,
to
right,
get
right.
him out the house. We'll do that.
Right.
And you
You
just
know what I
say,
mean?
we getting you out the house.
We get
Right.
out the house.
We get
It's
you out
not
the
like,
house,
come
but-
on.
It's not.
Let
Tell
me-
me what
Come
happened.
on, let me hold you. Where's the ice
Oh, no.
It's none of that.
It's like, look at her right there. What's wrong with her?
But,
Right.
but that's the point that I was gonna make. Is it? And I know you're not speaking for all men, but I feel like for when we talk about the activity, I feel like that's sometimes where the sex comes in for women too.
Sure.
But I think oftentimes for men,
In the
it's like
club?
say again.
Sex
In the club?
Not sex in the club, but just
Like an Usher song?
you know.
Potentially, but I just think that. But again, that's sort of that release of like
Oh,
instead
yeah.
of me actually dealing with what's going
Right,
on,
that's the
I'm
release.
just gonna pick up somebody
Yeah.
and do what we got to do and keep
Right.
it moving.
Even
But
though I'm
not
hurting,
That's
even
right.
though I'm in pain.
That's right.
I'm just, this is
I'm
going. 'cause
feeling
it's
all
more
this
like-
stuff, but I need to get it
It's
out.
more
She's
so-
saying
I
it's
feel
out
like-
of the body. It's been.
That's right.
That's out of my. It's
That's
release.
right.
And so right, there are different levels, right?
Yeah.
Because one is soothe and stabilize, right? It's like I am in crisis in the moment, whether I'm calling it crisis or whether I'm calling it a breakup or whether I'm calling it a hard day, right?
It's
I'm gonna
crisis,
soothe that away,
Right.
Yeah.
right? Sex, gambling, glass or 5 of wine,
That's
like
right.
whatever that looks
Weed.
like, right? Whatever
Right.
that looks like, it's
Yeah.
It
soothe and
makes so
stabilize.
much sense. This might not be inappropriate, but then it's not for this. That's why when you angry with your partner and the sex after making up,
It
is
does
so
make
much
it so-
better
yeah.
because all the
That's
All
right.
the tension
It's
built
gone.
up.
Yeah. And
But
the
then,
adrenaline.
after was like, yeah. So it is like this.
But then you
build
want
up
that
release,
high.
But then,
Right.
But the problem is, so what? But I do think where we are challenged with that, where you can have the makeup sex, but then the problem is, then that he thinks then that's over,
Yeah,
and you
no.
saying, hold up.
We still got to
We still got to process.
This was your part.
That was your part,
Right.
like that. I mean, because he thinking in his mind, he like,
Yeah.
oh, we good then, right?
Yeah.
So pissed. No,
We
That's
should
what I'm
be.
saying.
We should be.
That's what you think is we moved on, but
Just
we
like with guys, like male friends can fight
and still be
and
friends.
still be friends, and it's over with. Once that part is done, we good now. Now we good. I had to whip your ass, or you whip my whatever
Right.
happened,
And we
then
good. We
can
cousins
move
again.
forward.
I get
'Cause
it.
That physical act happened, and it's
No,
done.
with the woman.
But see,
That's
that's
my
what's
Cardi B voice. If I hate you
That's
forever.
the two differences.
forever. No, it's like this. Forever. No, but
Never
but what's interesting is that's the same thing that Jay-Z said about Kanye. He said that we're brothers. So we fight, we got in worse arguments than that. And we still good. Like, I mean, if he called me today, I'm like, what's up? We family. But we like, no, that bitch didn't.
We still
Like,
mad
we
at
still
Jay-Z
mad.
over
Hold on, people don't even want Jay-Z on
at
the
the
stage.
Why not?
Because we haven't got no.
Because of
They
Beyonce.
still mad about
Lemonade.
The women are mad. They don't even want him.
She already forgave him.
Exactly.
She did, but
But
that's why they say
the Beehive has not.
Right, the Beehive didn't
the
experience.
Beehive is spoken. They
The
said
Beehive
no.
did not extend their forgiveness.
They don't even want him on the tour. They rather see Blue Ivy and the twins. You
Well,
hear what
guess
I'm saying?
It ain't gonna be like that.
They don't want him there.
Bring the babies out.
But that also speaks to we don't know the full extent of what they went through to get to that point,
And
right?
y'all know
Because
what she did.
but that's what I'm saying. But
What?
I'm
I'm sorry.
sure.
She could have
sorry,
called
what
that
now?
guy she went to the prom with. You saw the pictures. The
Don't
guy
do
she
it.
went to the prom with.
No, but she actually said that
She did not.
did.
Right,
She could.
exactly.
She actually said
She
in
went to the prom
If
with
you
him.
listen to the whole album, she
You gotta
actually
listen.
said like I had opportunities and I
You
did.
didn't process
But the
it.
point,
You
right?
didn't process it.
I know.
You went-
She ain't gonna put her stuff out there.
But the point being is that they had to do a lot of work
Right.
in
Yeah.
order, and he had to grow. They had to do a lot of. Both of them had to grow.
Both.
They had to
But
do a
that's-
lot of work.
And that's my point
In
about
order to get to that
allowing
point.
the evolution
She can't
of
control her
somebody.
sister. What about that?
They had to allow
that's
the
my point.
evolution.
You have to allow people
Control your
to
sister.
grow.
That's right.
Like, get your sister. Get her.
Well,
No, she had a right to do it. It was a lot going on there.
No, it was the sister saying, you know what, I'm tired of your shit.
Right.
And you're not gonna keep running over my sister like this.
And she had to let him
I'm
know.
speaking as the younger sister, and I will get with any
That's-
man
In any dress.
in any dress.
Yeah.
Hello.
In any
Same
elevator.
order.
Right.
If you come
And
for
in-
that.
And then we process that shit later.
yeah.
No.
No, but I mean,
So there was a lot
you
of
could
work.
it
that
was
had to
a
be
lot
done.
of
Let
work.
up
No,
to
I
this
think
later.
that there was. We already know it was a lot of work they did. It's no doubt that that's what happened.
But
I'm
even
just saying how
within
they-
that, though, we saw what the trauma of several miscarriages, the trauma of being cheated on, like all of that, and what's trauma
Even without
There's no
knowing.
alleged.
without
We
knowing,
saw
we
it.
saw,
Even
Yeah.
just in
we saw,
her
that's
public
right.
appearances.
That's right.
Rocking back on full
We knew
court
something was
side,
off.
just being
Something was off.
completely
Yeah.
out of it.
Something
Like
was off.
it was
And
things,
now
it was
what you
signs.
see
That's
now
right.
is a
The evolution
relationship
of
that
her.
yes. And what you see now is the two of them. When I honestly, when I used to see him, I didn't even think anything
That's
of
right.
it until Lemonade and all that kind of stuff. Then, oh my, you know, everybody is analyzing. Girl, did you see something? I knew that time. That's what everybody got their theory on
Yeah.
whatever. But now when I see them together, to me, it's of a couple who's been through something and who's overcome,
That's right.
and they still may not be all because that takes time. I'm sure you know you've seen with the healing and it's ongoing.
That's right.
And exactly what I was saying to you today earlier, that it's ongoing. It never stops. And people think that, okay, now, we good. Like I said, you had to make up sex and we good. But that doesn't mean tomorrow you're not going to get on my nerves.
Well, because now we're in a new relationship.
Right.
That relationship,
That
that
was
part
dead and gone.
is done now because that severing has happened.
Right.
And we've had to now recreate a whole new
and that
relationship.
takes work.
It takes work, and we didn't get to witness that.
Right.
We didn't get to
We
witness
got to
that.
witness everything leading up
That's
to
right.
it, right? And like we were
And
saying
in the
before,
end, right. We
they're
ain't see it going
They are the gods, right?
Y'all
They are
should
the
thank
perfect.
Jay-Z.
Thank him for what? For lemonade? Well, that's what
Y'all
they
should
said.
thank him for
And seat at the table.
the motivation to create a great project.
I'm sorry.
Where are we going with this? I'm sorry, where are we going with
But
this?
he didn't actually create it. He inspired.
Yeah,
I'm not.
that's what
But
I
I
mean.
mean, I mean, I don't know if we have
What
to
else
thank
would she
him.
Honestly, I
have?
don't-
She
yeah.
probably wouldn't put no album out if
sorry,
that stuff
well-
didn't happen. Y'all had no album.
They
Oh, we
did not
did.
let us down.
Y'all would've had
She's
no
had
album.
plenty of albums. That
Not after Lemonade.
Now, I wouldn't say not as selling as this one.
Exactly. You got the superficial stuff. She gave you a personal album because she personally went through something.
I don't think I had to thank Jay for that. I think that's
Right.
just life.
That's life, right?
That's just stuff that
because
just
something
happened.
else hard was going to happen.
Yeah.
right? And her creative spirit and
Yeah,
was
she's
gonna,
a
like,
creative,
bring that
right?
for all
So
of
that's
us.
just what it
She could
is.
have ended up with Wyclef Jean. I guess you're saying, and then you would have got.
I don't see
Lemonade
it.
too.
I don't see the vision.
Please cut his mic.
But anyway, with that being said, I had brought up Bill Cosby for a reason because I was saying that the whole, dealing with that and trail of trauma that he's left of 60 women, who probably more. But I just sometimes feel like within our community, you read that allowance of, we gonna brush it aside, or because people knew of these things. Same thing with R. Kelly. Now they got a movement about him. People knew these things were going on.
Knew what things?
What you talking about with Bill Cosby or
What
R.
exactly
Kelly?
did Bill Cosby do again?
He drugged women
And sexually assaulted.
and sexually assaulted them.
And was
Anything
found,
else?
was found
believe-
guilty.
I just-
He
I
was
think there's
found
more to the
guilty.
story.
Let me just say this.
He
Now,
was found
what's
guilty.
the difference between the old? There it is. He was found guilty in America.
But I mean,
No,
why
but
did,
let's
but,
not-
but a woman
What does that
said,
mean?
but this is the whole point. A woman said, he did this to me. what more do we need to know?
Plenty more. We
Not
need
just
proof.
one though. Not just one. Like
Right.
It was 60. I'm sorry, it was 60.
So never in my life that I think I would ever agree with you.
You gotta agree with me. Y'all can't.
But
what's
Come
more
on
to
now.
the
We
story?
cannot be
I think there
serious
was
for
way
a
more to
minute.
the story
We
because
never
even,
caught a
But of
woman
course,
lying
even
before.
somebody being in the industry.
60?
Like for instance, I was
Yeah.
listening to Wendy Williams the other day, and with her being in the industry as long as she was, she's saying that he pretty much tried to blackball her with the situation,
Right.
because she had always said, "Oh
Ooh.
no, this was Wendy
Williams.
Williams," that she had made it known that these were rumors,
Right.
And when she
she's
made
that
that
type.
public,
Right.
he then went to her superior
And
and
tried to
tried
shut her
to
up.
shut her down, pretty much.
She said that
So
she
my
did
thing
that?
is this, and why I agree with you, and this is probably the only reason, but I believe he did it. Do I believe he drug him? Absolutely. However, I think some of these women, maybe not all, maybe probably most of them knew what they were getting themselves into in the sense of, I'm gonna go over here because this is an opportunity for me.
Yes.
I'm gonna go over here because I know he's rumored for this, that, and the third, and I'm gonna probably try to make these allegations or whatever the case may be.
Because it was already out there.
And because I don't think that these were the first people to ever say anything.
It's
I
been-
think
they-
back in the
they
day,
started
they'd
in
have
the
went to
60s.
somebody and said, "Oh, he touched me inappropriately, or he sexually
But see-
harassed me, or whatever the case is." It probably was. This is Bill Cosby. Like, go sit down. You ain't going.
But no, now I
Hold on. Don't go. I want you to leave for a second.
No, I'm not leaving.
Now,
Oh, trust me, I'm here. I'm sitting down.
Okay, if I'm Bill Cosby, she comes over. Right?
Don't be Bill Cosby.
Yeah, I'm Bill Cosby in this scenario. All right, we drinking, we popping whatever it is that they
Molly.
we're mutually.
Back in the day,
Yeah,
that's what they
back
were
in the
doing.
day.
No, we are-
Yeah, and that's what they were
called
doing.
partying. That's called
Yes,
partying.
we were
But she
partying.
came over there not
We were
because she's
partying.
attracted to me.
Of course
but
not,
She
'cause
came
you're not
over
cute.
there because of what she thinks I can do for her.
You to come up.
We
Now
yes.
we do whatever we want to do. I don't do shit. I treat her like I'm these hoes on to the next one and don't do anything. She has a vendetta. She's upset. I've done that a few times. I basically lie to these girls, get them to the house, party with them, and ditch them and don't do nothing for them. How do you know that's not what happened?
No, I don't
Because
dispute
he
that.
Said, right? He said no one said no. Right? He said
Right.
that there was consent. Right? But the
He
thing
definitely
is when,
said that.
But when you drug someone,
Yeah, that's
right,
taking it to another level.
It's one
Here
thing,
it
but no,
comes.
it's one thing to party.
I set them up. I set them up. I just set them up. I just set them up. And this is why I don't understand why he got convicted. Because yes, the women say that.
This was a different
How do you
situation
get
that he was
drugged?
convicted on, though.
But this is the one from 2004.
Right, a more
How
recent
do you
one.
get drugged, but you can recall everything that happened?
You can recall everything up to.
No,
And then
she-
you wake up and you're
She
naked.
went to the
Most definitely.
specifics.
that's why they make those
She
little
went to
briefing
the
after.
specifics.
Right.
That can happen.
If you got drugged, it's gonna be some foggy. I don't know how my pants got on. Is it?
No,
How
but-
she's detailing
But I think,
intercourse
hold on. But what I'm saying, okay, so
during the
no,
drug hand.
what we're saying is,
That's what happened.
no,
Yeah,
look,
I think
I'm gonna
there
say,
are certain drugs that could just make you very relaxed.
That's
more,
right.
Not
That's
alert.
right.
It can make you more
Your arms
comfortable.
don't
It can
work.
make you more sexual. It can make you more touchy feely.
What's the definition of being drugged?
Being drugged, because I'm thinking that I'm not being drugged if I take the drugs.
Right,
I was
right.
drugging them.
But that's
No,
two
No,
different
some of
things.
them, sometimes. Okay, wait a minute. So there's several different things that happen.
Right.
And
That's
I'm
a lot
thinking,
of
what
lawsuits
I'm
that need to
thinking
happen.
is that there were several different scenarios
Right.
that played out, right? So I mean, I wasn't in the courtroom, but there were some women who were actually drugged, meaning he put something in there, whatever,
Unbeknownst to them.
and they didn't know. They came up to his room. I think in their mind they probably would have had sex with him anyway, and didn't really need to drug. Didn't need to drug them, but he did it anyway. I think there was those scenarios. I think there were scenarios where they literally came up there to maybe have sex with him. Like I think there were
But
seniorios
I think
where
there
there
are
were
also
situations,
scenarios
but I
where there
think
were
was-
people who were just like, I'm meeting
No,
somebody
I
who
know,
has a
that's what I'm saying.
connection.
Like, I
I'm not
think there was
interested in
at
But what I'm
sex.
saying
2 or
is, I think-
2:30 in the morning.
Well, listen, what I'm saying. I'm thinking there were several
But that's
different
a different-
scenarios
Oh,
because
big
what he
difference.
was convicted on was not those other scenarios
Right.
of people
The
just coming up
statute
there.
Right.
limitations ran out, but these were this shifted public opinion. This tainted the jury. This all
Of course,
all of this stuff.
he's a celebrity. He's Bill Cosby, America's dad. Of course, it tainted.
Is this different than the stuff that Trump was accused of?
No,
Is
but
this
let me
different
just
than
say
Harvey
this.
Weinstein?
Listen, no, it's
But
not.
why
not.
be so like take down?
No,
Bill?
nobody
said
was
that.
saying that.
Oh no, they say it on social media. They
We
say-
No, I
didn't
know
take
that.
down all of
Take
them.
down
I'm saying
Take down all of them.
This is what I'm saying.
If it's proof though, because
It-
women-
Exactly.
women with the vendetta or men with a vendetta.
But we
can
can't
say whatever
always
they
just.
want.
But see, the problem within society is that it's always that the woman, for some reason, that they are the ones that are lying. We can't always assume that. That's why you investigate. That's why you do your research. That's why you look into it, opposed to just saying off the break that the woman.
But
is
that's
lying.
but if you're going
that's
into
also a lot of things that some women take advantage of. Is because
They do.
I agree. We agree
But they
twice.
always-
That's two
No,
times.
I agree.
But you're only agreeing with the stuff that's making the woman seem suspect.
Of course.
No,
Because
not
even
just
your
the woman
perspective,
in
but wait,
general.
but even
I'm
your
just saying,
perspective of
proof
when
is proof. We need proof.
You're right, but when we're looking at, well, why was she there at 2:30 in the morning? If that's your lifestyle, like if you know you're a producer and you have people in here at all times of the night, and we decide, okay, let's go have a meeting
Everybody
in the
not
other
going
room.
up there to have
I'm
sex.
not
Okay,
going
I
over there to
get
have
that.
sex with you. You're a
I get
producer.
that. I get
You
that.
work late at night. I'm coming
This
to
is
meet
an
with you.
opportunity.
It's an
So that's
opportunity
like
for me to
equivalent
connect.
saying, oh, because you had on a skimpy dress, that you wanted it.
Right.
Not
Right.
necessarily.
Let's not. Yeah, we
That's
should
not
never.
So that's
go
what I'm
there.
saying. The proof is
Well,
in
did
the
you?
context. But if we come in assuming that, oh, all of a sudden she's saying it's 2:30 in the morning, now we're suspect. When it's like, but that's the lifestyle. We work at night because we're in the studio, or we work at night because we're
Right,
doing
that don't mean that doesn't give
whatever.
you
Like that doesn't
reason
give
to-
you reason to drug me and think that I want to have sex with you.
If I go in the bank and I'm wearing a ski mask, right? But I'm getting in line to cash my check, right? You're gonna be looking at me crazy because I got on the ski mask.
Is it cold outside?
Yes, it's cold.
Okay,
outside. I
well
may
then
have
I'm not looking at
pimples.
you.
I may be self-conscious about something on my face and I'm
Yeah.
just covering it up.
No.
Right, but that doesn't make sense, right?
But first
You're
of all,
going to
you have to
assume
you have to
based
show
on what
your
I had
ID
on.
before
But
you
if
make
you
a
as a
bank
producer-
transaction. So I need to see your face. So yes,
That's
I'm looking
right.
at you crazy because I can't verify who you are on this ID
Until I
if
get
I
to
don't
the
see your
line,
face.
then I take the mask
So,
off. But
I'm
all
gonna
the
be
other
looking at you
people
suspect.
look
What's your point?
That's
What's your
just
point?
common
I'm saying you're going to judge him by what he's wearing, appropriate to where he is or where she is.
But
Coming to my
rapists
house
don't-
at 2
rapists
o'clock
aren't
in the
wearing
morning
a
and
ski-
coming in the studio is
But
something
you
different.
just said it was cold outside. You didn't say it was a 95-degree day and you coming in
Well,
with a ski
that's-
mask on your face.
that-
See, that's what I'm talking
okay.
about.
Well,
It's
that's-
those
you
details.
just
Context.
assume
That's
that-
what I keep saying,
You just
context.
assume that because of the scenario. So no, I'm not gonna look at you crazy for coming to the bank. I'm gonna think, oh, it's cold as hell outside. You came in here when you bundled up, sir. All right, but in
But
order
if you
for me,
get- but
in order
if
for me
you-
to complete this
that's right.
transaction, I'm gonna need to
But
see your face.
But wait a minute, but if you get to the front of the line and you still got the mask on, I'm like, I'm pressing the button, his ass going down. Like, I mean, I'm just saying, like, why are you still here with the mask on? It's hot in here.
The heat is on.
Right. Like, what are you
Nobody
doing?
else
sir?
is cold.
Nobody. But no, but I'm just saying, like, I think that we do have to be careful with this. To me, what I think is a false narrative of
That's
saying
right.
that the woman is always
In the wrong.
always in the woman on the ball is always on in her court. Like to say it's always something she did.
That's right.
And I'm not saying that all of them women had
And
great
so every
intentions. I'm not
guy
saying
is
all.
not the evil.
No, they're not.
but
and that's what I'm
But it
saying.
never works
But
the
those-
other way. There's
but
never
those
the
that
women
are-
that
but
are
those
accused
that
of
are
these
Oh, no,
crimes.
because
They're
let
never
me-
the women. You know why?
No, let me
because
tell you.
guys take the shit like we take a scenario for what it is more than I think that y'all do. I think a lot of times hindsight changes your view of a said situation. So you may see some of these women's perils and then think back and say, wait a minute, 5 years ago, I had a situation and now your whole view of your situation has been corrected because of the experience that you witnessed somebody else go through. And I think that a lot of times these women 30, 24 years later, they're reassessing their life and now redefining the situation.
I agree with that. I would agree with that absolutely because we've redefined or we're in the process of redefining what sexual assault is, right?
Yes.
That's what the whole Aziz Ansari thing was, right? It was like what was bad sex for my generation, right? Or for your generation, for when my daughter comes up, that's gonna be sexual assault, right? So people are redefining what assault is, what rape is.
And
right?
don't you think that and my thing is that we cannot, just like there are degrees of murder, we cannot always say that there's degrees to all of that. And I think sometimes now we're putting everything in one bucket and saying throw the whole thing away, and we're missing the point that sometimes you got to do some more investigation. Right. Like everybody, just because I'm not saying sometimes everybody doesn't always have ill intent. Like it's not always if I touch you now, you gotta be. Everyone is on edge because they're like, I'm afraid if I say anything. Now, if you come and say, you know what, hey, your boobs look good today. Whoa, that yo,
But it could go
right?
from one extreme
Or
to
if I say,
maybe you should pull your shirt up a little bit because your boobs are out, your cleavage is out.
but
Then it's like, what
can
are
a
you
man
looking
say
at,
that at work? He can't say that at work.
No.
Because to the woman, it's
Why are you looking at my
why are you looking
boobs?
at my breasts like that? But to the man,
Because
he's
it's in
like,
the
I'm
policy.
saying this is the place to be.
It's in the manual on page 5.
Right, on
No
page 5.
cleavage, no
Yeah.
boobs
Your
showing
skirt
at
got a
your.
little hiked up and it's in your panties. He can't
He
tell
can't
you to
tell
pull
you.
it
He
out.
can't tell you.
But then he can't also look at you having it hiked up in your
You
panties.
can't say nothing. You went. So now I'm out here
Do
with
I
my
help
skirt.
you? Don't I
can't.
help
You
you?
can't do it.
Just look away,
The
put down the
man will say no. Look away. Look away. Throw the whole
So
person away.
you have to just open the manual and put it on the person's
Right.
desk
Say-
and be like highlight
Highlight.
number 5.
And back out the
Right, and just be like-
this,
Because
hands
it's
up.
too many. The now what's happening between with Me Too, Time's Up. Now they got they got R. Kelly on the hook. The people are not playing anymore.
It
And
should have
the
been.
concern, only concern is now. I think that I feel movements can be great. But my concern is that I want to make sure that we are doing our due diligence and investigating these things
Properly.
right. Because I've seen cases. Me and my husband have had several of these conversations because he is he's a sports fanatic, and when we see young men who are in college, I've seen their lives have been ruined behind being falsely accused of raping a woman because they were at a frat party. They all got drunk. Everybody was wasted.
Yeah.
They engaged in sex. Now she, the next day, saying, "I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
I think I was assaulted." And I've seen people on both sides where it did happen and where it didn't.
Yeah.
And it's sad because immediately for the person who was playing Olivia Pope, it's throw everything away. Everybody goes.
Yeah.
No matter what families, so
Yeah.
everybody's affected. People's families been, put out this, that, and the other because we can't have this, right? Where then you have a situation where it goes, nobody says anything.
Right.
We gonna act like this ain't happened.
Right.
You gonna still do what you doing. Put the girl out of school. So there's no balance.
Yeah. There's
And
no
I'm
balance.
saying, where's you gotta have.
It's got to swing back.
Yes.
Right? It was one way, and then the pendulum's swinging the other way, and we've got to be able to find a way
We
to have some
have
balance
to.
in the middle. It might take some
Absolutely.
time.
It does. It will. Because I think now we're in a moment where everybody just get out.
It's
because
just JC. It's gonna take some time.
Yeah, because part of the
We need to
pendulum,
eliminate.
we needed several. Because part of the pendulum, I think, is that we have to have conversations with both men and women.
We do.
And where we end up going wrong is that
It's just us talking.
it's just
Right.
the women talking, or it's just we're focusing on, well, she shouldn't have done X, as opposed to, well, what made him even think Y? Why is he even doing
Right.
what are the conversations that we're having with both parties? Because I've
Yeah.
seen the same thing with domestic violence, right? Where it's like
That's
something.
what I was just about to say.
That's right. Where something happens, and I've seen both sides. Like, I've worked in domestic violence, and I've also had a man close to me be accused of doing things, and he his job was put on at risk because of a report that somebody made. And because I knew him and I knew his story, I was like, this is what makes our work so difficult.
Yeah.
Because they're automatically going to hear her story and say, well, you now have to X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And he's like, but this was, again, the context of what was happening. It was X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Right. And so, but we don't look at the context.
We
We don't listen
There's
to
no critical
both.
thinking,
There's
yo.
no
They
critical
just-
thinking. We're not looking at, well, in order to end sexual assault or domestic violence, then the woman needs to stop doing X. Well, no, the men need to stop
Everybody
being
has a
predators.
But the
Right.
conversation
Men
needs
need to
to
stop
happen way
doing
before
X.
you get to the workplace. That's where a lot of it comes into play, is
your
educating
home?
them as children.
Yeah,
That's right.
It is
absolutely.
educating them in the elementary and middle school, because little boys are feeling the little girls and vice versa, and we're not having this
We
conversation.
don't have a
That's
conversation.
right.
And even when it does,
We don't want to talk about
if
it.
we don't, and
That's
even
right.
when it does come to, because you don't want to talk to your elementary school kid about the body parts and
That's
what the
right.
vagina is, and use the word vagina because
That's
it's your special
And what
place.
does it mean
No,
to
we
touch
need
somebody
to be
inappropriately?
exactly what does that
What does
look
that
like.
mean?
But then it also comes into play when you're talking about domestic violence. It is training, because I see it all the all the time, especially having 2 nephews, to train your daughters to keep their little hands to themselves, to not always have that conversation with the little boys.
That's right.
Like, these are
Yeah,
conversations
that don't
and
give
they're
you the right,
uncomfortable, and they are conversations that need to be had, like you said, not just at home, but in the classroom. This would be a part of the curriculum.
Yeah.
If you have a co-ed institution where you are having these people mix and mingle together, then they need to be able to be educated on how to do that properly.
And I think that's why what I appreciate about, I don't want to just say be negative about the Me Too movement and Time's Up, because I appreciate people, the people who came out and the people who, because that takes courage to do that. And I think that now, if there's going to be a cultural shift in this and how we view sexual assault, like you're saying, I think we need some more grassroots. Like, we need some people working, like you're saying, in the classrooms, and with everybody just are not aware. We grow up not knowing. You know what I mean? So and your mind is like shaped to say, like, if no one's ever told you, how will I know it? So that's what I'm saying about this evolution of, just like I was thinking about in the case of, I don't know if you heard about Joy Reid, who's on MSNBC, and she had wrote something about the LGBTQ community 10 years ago, and people were like outraged, and they were like, oh, she need to lose her job, she need to do all this, and she was like, at that time, I mean, now she's a different person.
Yeah.
And so does that mean that now, because I thought away years ago, and I'm sure you witness with people, there's an evolution of people, like people's mindset has changed. Like, I may not, because I was unaware of, even for myself, for the LGBT, I don't know the language. Yeah. I didn't know, and it's not until I have someone in my circle that now I can be more accepting, I can understand, I have more clarity about it. But at that point, 10 and 15 years ago, I had no clue.
Yeah.
Because that's not who I was associated with in that sense, that I knew knowingly.
Right. That's right.
And so now I'm saying, if we don't allow for people to make cultural shifts even within their mind, we're all going to be throwing everybody out. Like, everybody, you just done. Like, that's it. You had this thought, so that's it. You gone. And I don't think that's fair.
No, it has to start with their little, right?
That almost hit you.
You have to sit, you have to get permission before you hug someone. You have to get permission before you touch someone, right? You need permission.
Right. No, I'm sorry. Is it okay if I touch it?
Yes.
It's not.
Okay.
And that's where it starts, right? With like the little.
So now
ones.
there's a boundary.
We have to change sex ed, right?
Yeah.
We have to
We have to bring
it back.
Yeah.
We have to bring it back.
They threw it out. They threw it out.
They threw it out.
They threw it out.
They threw it out with
It was
Jim.
in the school, in
They threw
high
it out.
school.
And music.
While your hormones are raging and you are a complete psychopath,
Right.
when you are in high school, you didn't talk about this when you were in elementary school as children.
Oh, we got a sex ed.
We got sex
We
ed.
did too.
You didn't.
No.
She a baby.
See, she's 88.
The
a
only
baby.
time I
She
had
was
any
born in
type
88.
of, and it wasn't sex ed, it was like health care, something or another. The class was called, and that was high school, my 10th grade year.
So you didn't get anything in elementary?
No.
Well, we got it. We are starting in junior high.
Yeah, like junior high, like
Junior
middle
high,
school.
middle school.
Yeah, but I mean, like those things,
That's
along
sad.
with gym. So we got obese, sexual predators.
Who aren't artistic because we done took out art and music.
You ain't got no gym, no music, sex ed. You just out here just living just enough other
And
things.
then you gotta think, because nowadays, even in my generation, by the time I was in middle school, I looked like I was sure enough about to graduate from high school.
Right.
Like
In the teacher's
boobs
lounge.
and hips and thighs.
Have a cigarette.
Girl, what you doing tonight? Get
Right,
out.
Exactly. I really was though. I really was. And what he say?
Right.
What
And I'm just saying, like,
Yeah,
those are the
man.
kind of things that, and what's so interesting is, like, with I see the teachers protesting, and
Yes.
they want, they.
Yes.
Now it's like people are just like, enough of it, and
Enough is enough.
And
It's
now
too
we
much
can
work.
thank, and we can thank honestly the millennials for a lot of this movement piece, because for us, I think for our generation, I'm not sure how old you are, but for our generation, we
tired.
We tired, but I feel like we coasted through because we didn't really. There's certain things we didn't experience.
That's true. No, that's true. That's true.
And so
That's true.
now that this
It was
is
a
now,
slower burn.
right?
It was a
And so now
slower
that
burn.
this is kind of resurfaced, this group, this generation is just like, whoa, like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what is
Yeah.
this? Like,
Yeah.
I was born when we had Obama,
Obama,
for
that's
president,
right.
and
We had
I don't really
Obama.
know
That's right.
what Reaganomics and all
That's
that.
right.
Like, I don't have a clue.
And we had a bit of both.
We had a bit of
We had a
both,
bit
and
of
that's what I
both.
said. So we had, I feel like, a gift and a curse
Absolutely.
of
Seeing
the-
it before and after.
and also the tech high
That's
tech
right.
and a high
That's
touch.
right.
We had both.
That's
so
right.
we had a different experience.
We knew the struggle, and now we know the
But now
convenience.
so we excited about it. Like,
Right.
I don't understand why you just don't email. But for this generation, they just strictly high tech.
Yeah, that's true.
And so a lot of they don't want to wait.
They want to see the
Stamps.
results right now.
Right, like
What do you
who's
use
still
stamps
sending right?
for? Who's
And
still
you can
sending
appreciate
letters?
that, but I think it needs to be
Yeah.
a merging of the two.
Yeah.
And how can we move this with? Yes, we want to make sure people are held accountable, but we also know that there's a process.
That's right.
And so let's respect the process and allow that to work. How can that work
That's right.
together?
That's right.
And how can we have a better process, right?
Yes.
And how can we start prepping our kids to be a part of that process, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do we teach our daughters to say, we were talking about this earlier, how do we teach our girls that it's okay to say yes to sex so
That's
that
right.
so that boys aren't used to constantly hearing no, right? No loses its power when they always hear no, so we can tell our girls, right? Yes, it's okay to have desire, it's okay to have pleasure, right? It's okay for these things. We can tell our boys, like, no, really, no, you don't get to touch, and if you're
That's right.
unsure, don't touch, and
Right.
if you're unsure, you walk away.
Because
Right.
now it's on your terms versus their terms.
And the boys can say no.
And the
And the boys can say
Because
no.
that's another thing. Do I lose who I am as a boy if I say no to a young girl? Because I'm sorry.
That's right.
Let's keep it
Yeah.
100. These young girls are just they can be fast.
Absolutely.
And
Not
it's
can
okay to be
they are.
pursued, right? It's
Yes.
okay. Like, you don't always have to be the pursuer. It's okay to be
Right.
pursued. Things are all different.
But
It's
again,
just different
yeah.
now.
But that again, it sort of goes back to what you were talking about the body awareness, right? That it's okay to recognize, like you said, the desires, the feelings that you have. They're all natural.
Yeah.
How do you own them, right? And that's ultimately what we're talking about. If somebody is drugging me,
Right.
then
I
I
don't
can't
own this.
own, right? Because I might just be,
said
catatonic while
no.
things are happening,
Right.
Right.
Did I say
But if
that?
right,
Maybe I said yes.
but if
Wait
I'm
a minute.
partying,
I'm confused.
Oh, did I say
right now
we?
we're confused. But if I'm partying and I'm in control of my body and I'm saying yes, this is how I'm spending
Right.
my
You
evening.
saying I'm saying yes.
I'm saying yeah. Then that's what we're doing.
Right. But
what I mean?
I mean,
That's what we're
but with
doing.
the allowance of saying no. Right? So I could be what I'm doing and dancing doesn't automatically make
It doesn't.
No. And I
That's
can
yes.
change my
not, that's
mind.
right.
Yeah.
And I
I
can
can
change
change
my
my
mind.
mind.
Men and women can change
Yes.
their mind.
Yes.
We really need to teach like gender
Yeah.
and how we have which again
Yeah.
the critical.
So fluid.
I know
It's
we
like
can't.
we can't even go.
We
Right.
can't.
much.
It's too.
It's too much to unpack.
Right, it's just
more
way
of a
down in the
reason to
suitcase.
Start the conversation
At
young
young age,
because
yeah.
It's
if
way
you
down
don't
the
know
suitcase.
as a female what
No,
your
no.
vagina is, what this looks like, how this should properly function, what these urges are, it's okay to feel
that
this
you can
way
pleasure
and to know your
yourself.
body and to pleasure
keep it
yourself
moving.
and it to be okay to masturbate. It's not
That's
a dirty
right.
word. Or
That's right.
if we don't educate them young,
don't.
then how you gonna have this conversation?
That's
When
right.
you're talking about the LGBT community and other types of genders, and when you don't even know how your own body functions.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what makes it
That's
even.
right.
I think that's what people are afraid of. It's the fear of
Mm-hmm.
understanding, like to know. Because one of I watch SVU, but one of the things that I remember, one of the rape victims was saying was like, but I was aroused. And so she was like, you remember
And the
that?
boyfriend
And
was
so,
watching?
and she was like, and she said, but still that doesn't make it okay. It's
That's
a
your body.
natural
That's right.
reaction. You
That's
know what I
right.
mean? And so I'm thinking, like, even like you're saying, people being aware of that, so then it wouldn't be the shame.
Because
in-
now I am
Because-
confused.
Right, exactly.
'Cause I
So
think-
did I want to? Did I
That's
want
right.
to be
Did I
raped?
want
Did I
it?
want to be like?
I feel like
It's
back in the
natural
day,
to-
it was if you knew about sex or had this conversation of sex, it was, oh, that's gonna make you want it more.
Yes.
It's gonna make you more sexually
yeah,
active.
yeah,
It's gonna make
yeah,
you
yeah.
promiscuous, things like
Yeah.
that. Whereas though, I feel like it's the complete
Being aware,
opposite.
right.
It is being okay with saying no because I know I really don't need you to get my point across. Literally, like I
Right.
know I really don't need you
That's
to
right.
serve. A,
So
B,
having
C,
a
and D
better
for me.
understanding
Or
of
I'm
what you
aware
like.
of what this function
That's
is
right.
and how it works and what it looks like and what this leads to. Like once
That's
you
right.
open that door, sometimes it is harder to close. Like until you
That's
have this
right.
conversation and you make people knowledgeable about it, it's
Yeah.
gonna always be this. You still gonna have little Sue creeping with little John in
Right.
middle school and high school, parents thinking that they don't know because you weren't comfortable enough to have this uncomfortable conversation.
Right.
Right.
And
I-
now you're a
you're right.
grandparent at
At
what?
16, the
36.
kids-
At 35.
No, I get it, and I think that one of the things I always say is that once you open the door anyway to sex, that changes the whole relationship anyway. So I think as a young woman or whoever, I think you have to be clear about that. Like, what are you? Because my boundaries and my morals are not my daughter's, and so I had to be okay with the fact that if the decision she made on making, it's not me. You know what I'm saying? And I think sometimes as women need to let their daughters know their story. If they don't know your story, they don't understand where you're coming from.
That's right.
It's the long goes the day of just telling your kid don't get pregnant.
That's
Because
right.
that means nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That's null and void because most of
I
them don't
could-
want
I could-
to anyway.
I could end up on
Meanwhile,
MTV
you
with a
did.
reality
But
show.
then most of them don't want to anyway. Like that's not the thing that people like going around trying. But my point is that
Yeah.
that's not enough information
enough.
to send me out because
not
all
enough.
that comes with sex is way much more than the baby, honey.
Yeah.
People still getting STD. People still dying.
People still get STD.
Yeah, like people still getting STD.
Yeah.
Actually, that episode
And
of
people-
Good Times came on with when JJ thought he had STD. I'm just saying it's relevant. JJ had thought he had an STD, and the girl was like, "No, this is really important because the girl came to him, said you gave me VD or whatever, yeah, VD back
VD
then.
back, yeah.
and JJ go get tested, and he didn't have it." So then that means that she had slept with JJ,
Right.
but then she also had the boyfriend. She said, I couldn't tell the boyfriend because we about to get married. And so then the real conversation was, as a woman, she had to own
That's
the fact
right.
that
She was sleeping with two
it
men.
wasn't, you were sleeping with two men and it wasn't, JJ didn't give it to you. So now you got, so it's really
That's
you,
right.
boo.
That's right.
Because they ain't sleep with each other.
That's right.
You slept with both of
That's
them.
right.
So it's like things, but
It's
that
like,
was
why
kind of
did I get married?
See, that's what I'm saying.
That's
Good-
what I was
I got
thinking. You ain't got
tested.
No, that's what I'm saying. Good Times was before its time, yo.
I just
They
wait
was
for
talking
you to
about
get
these serious
tested.
issues way before. But I mean, that was the thing.
But then there's a lot of
owning
other
yourself.
damage that'll happen when you involve sex, other than those things that are physical. What about the mental damages that
That's
happen? Those are the conversations you don't have.
Yeah, we
either.
don't have.
So now your teenager running around the house acting all crazy, not only because she's a teenager, but now she's having this other type of relationship that
Right.
she can't mentally
Emotional. That's
process.
right. That's
Because
right.
she
Not
mad
ready.
at right. Because he
We
with
can't
somebody
process
else.
it as adults.
Exactly.
cannot.
So
Their
you
little brains, they're just not.
No,
That's
they're
right.
not ready. They're
That's
not
right.
ready. And then you wonder why she lashing out. You like, bitch, get your ass. Sit your ass down. What's wrong with you? And that's why you know old people always say, yeah, you know when they have sex. No, but now I believe that. I believe it's true. There is you kind of know when something has gone down. And
But
I
the
feel
funny
like
part
as a
about it is they
parent-
were quick to say that, but then didn't want to
But no,
actually
they
talk
ain't
about
gonna do
it.
They want to talk about it. They want to talk
I'm just
about
going
you.
to right. They want to
your
talk
hips
about you.
sure
but
look
you're
like
not-
they spreading.
That's right. But we're actually not
But
going
we
to
never
have
had
a conversation about
No,
it.
we just gonna talk about you behind your
That's
back.
right.
Look at that ass.
Right. So you go to a family function, everybody going,
Mm-hmm. You know she
they're
doing
doing it. They're doing it.
And then when she get pregnant, everybody right.
Yeah, and when she get pregnant,
then everybody like, see,
See, told you. Well, had you talked to her.
right? They didn't. They ain't want to say
Right.
that. They ain't want to say that because
They
they.
need a little shade.
Right.
They need a little shade.
Yeah.
They need a little bit, just like let's just bring.
That's
it.
Let's
right.
just bring it up. No, because
That's
the
right.
uncle in the basement. So that's what I'm saying. Like
The uncle,
when you
right.
got an uncle in the basement
That's
and you
right.
bringing him meat food every day, this
That's
is the
right.
problem. You not definitely ain't gonna talk about sex.
Absolutely not.
Cause the uncle might have touched somebody and nobody want to talk about that.
Lord have mercy.
I'm just saying.
That's probably
That's
why
in the
sex
suit-
ed
that's
is being
why-
brought up in this classroom.
That's the part in the
because
suitcase.
They know that they're gonna have to not only talk to the kids, but now I'm gonna have to have this conversation with your parents too.
Right.
Yeah.
And what are you doing, parent?
Exactly.
Being shamed in the corner.
Right.
Being ashamed, going, oh,
That's
I
right.
can't talk about that.
Right.
That's too shameful. I was shamed for that.
That's right.
It's uncomfortable.
You
It's
got so
uncomfortable,
much
so
work
I'm
to
just
do.
not going to do it.
That's right.
It's
You have
ridiculous.
so much work to do.
So now that we've unpacked
Yeah,
We
well,
all need
all of
body
that,
work.
welcome.
this is the last thing, and I mean, hey, chime in everybody about Kanye. I cannot,
No. Come on.
and I don't
Have a
really
moment of
know.
silence for
We
his-
have a
his-
moment of
it was
silence?
for his brain.
I'm sorry for his family
And that too. His brain.
because it's a lot going on there, and
a
I'm.
lot.
We are sincerely praying for Kanye.
We
are.
have to.
At
We
some
have
point,
to.
It's not a joke.
It's
It's not
not.
funny.
No,
It's
mental
not.
illness is real.
This man is crying.
He is.
for help. He is begging, and people are too busy being entertained to acknowledge it.
They are.
That's the
It's
sad
public.
part.
Think about your hardest day shared with the world.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, that's just,
Yeah.
it's hard.
It is.
And Chris and I had a conversation even the other day, even with the family, to live with somebody who suffers
Yeah,
from mental
yeah.
illness and deals with that. It is
That's
such
another
a
level of
heavy weight to
caregiving.
bear, 'cause it's not just dealing with your own bad day. It's not just dealing with whatever burdens you may have. It is dealing with that of another person times 10. Because I don't know what your triggers are, because you haven't been educated on what your triggers are. I don't know, when it's going to go from a good day to a bad day, because that can happen in minutes, not necessarily a day. So
Right.
it's a lot. And then to do that in the public eye, knowing that I can't even
And you have
balance it
kids.
myself.
And kids involved. There's so many levels to it, and to me, like beyond of what the words that are coming out of his mouth, like I mean, I get everybody like, oh, he don't, slavery, all that, right? Got it, noted. But my thing is that where he is as a father, and a husband. Like, put Kanye, the celebrity, the brand aside.
Right.
And how you're able to function throughout the day and be a father, be a husband. That's like that right there is a whole, like, people, and that's what the conversation we were having, like, when you're dealing with somebody on that level, like, people don't understand what it means to actually be dealing with that day in and day out. The different, like, sporadic
mood swings.
I think it's even before you even get to him as a husband and a father. It's being around a group of people who can see you as a human being. To look at Kanye now on every interview, if you look at his eyes, if you look at the way he walks, if you look at his clothes, the way he carries himself, that's not college dropout Kanye. That's not, I got my first check and bought me a Benz or whatever the case is. That's not that Kanye. That's not even the Kanye from just a few years ago before his mother passed away, who was, very much into what he looked like and how he carried himself and speaking up for us.
But he's saying for him, this is he's
evolution.
Free. Like, this is the evolution of Kanye. Like, he's no longer that, you will never see that Kanye anymore. That's what he's saying. Like, I'm no longer that Kanye. But that's over.
It should be some type of peace. Like, when you look at, when somebody is truly gained that kind of peace, you see it, you feel it. It's
and even you don't have to
open in your mouth.
That's right. I don't have to try to figure it out.
And it's not an angry and forceful and I gotta show you that I'm free.
That's right.
You just free.
That's right.
I don't have to explain or justify. It's just like that.
That's right.
I wore this outfit because I wanted to.
You're so right about the eyes. Because just yesterday I was looking at a picture of him with his mom, and I was sitting thinking, his eyes had his whole face had a different clarity and glow to it. And to see him now, there's something that's just not there. And you're 100% right. If you've really gone through an evolution, a transformation, and you found yourself, you just are able to be. You don't have to be beating people over the head with it. You don't have to be tweeting 80 times a day about it. And that's the piece that is sort of like, but that's the piece that's off.
Yeah. And if you really found it, you don't have to try to convince other people.
That's right.
Like, people will gravitate
to
it because it just comes.
We would see it like, damn, he is really in a good place right now.
Like he feels good.
Yeah, he's talking differently. There's something going on that he's just a different person, not this like, whoa, what is going on with?
The thing about it is, even when in the I don't know if y'all saw the Charlemagne interview, but even in that, it's not. So the evolution, to me, what I was thinking, he was saying when he said he doesn't care anymore. That I believe to be true. That he's at that place where it's like, i.e. the way he looked, just kind of, I'm just gonna be whatever with the stomach, the hat, the Trump hat, whatever. But even in the interview, one of the things did you see the interview, the full thing? One of the things to me that I felt like Charlemagne did a disservice. I said the one of the things. I didn't say the whole thing. It was 2 hours.
I gotta see.
What's disservice if you do?
No, one of the things I felt like what he didn't do was, I didn't feel like he challenged him on some other, like there was some.
What? You challenged him on the Obama stuff?
No, those things he did, but I'm saying there was some things, I felt like there was some areas where he left the door open for it just to be like, and it wasn't like.
Because it was probably the more critical thinking depth level of stuff. Because it's easy to challenge on Obama and the Donald Trump.
Yeah, but it was like some things that I was just like.
It was probably the deeper level.
What he is, he's a brat. He's a brat, and he's entitled. He has this entitlement issue. Nobody owes you no apology because they reacted to the way you jumped on stage.
But him saying that was, so his whole argument was that's my truth. And I'm saying that could be your truth because your experience is your experience.
Still be inappropriate.
And it can still be.
But that's whack because.
No, you can't tell somebody that.
No, you can't. You can't because the problem is this, and this is why it's his mother's fault.
Tell somebody
you're thinking like a mother. You're thinking like a mother. You have to. Sometimes you have to.
I'm sorry.
In order to. That's why I said you think like a mother. Think differently for a second, okay? If Kanye West. If somebody else had went on stage in front of and took the mic from his daughter, right, and then tried to say this is my truth, he wouldn't understand none of that.
No, I wasn't talking about.
I'm just saying in general, but he's like that for everything.
Right?
Everything's
but no,
about
I was
him.
saying no. What I'm saying is someone's experience is their experience, regardless if it's good. It's not for me to prove you right or wrong. Because if you and
Then why
I,
you say he should have challenged him then?
No, listen what I'm saying. Which part you want?
All of it.
Okay, hold on.
From the root of the
Right.
But I want you to. But you lose points. Charlamagne should have challenged him more on what?
On just, I feel like throughout I think he challenged him on things that we like the Obama, like those things. But I was saying that just of where he was, like him just saying, I'm in a better place. I'm in a, like, to me, it wasn't like, he saw the behavior throughout the interview where it wasn't.
But you remember when he asked him about,
You know what I'm saying? Like,
do you get counseling and like, are you seeing
and
somebody?
he said, I don't believe in therapy.
Right, but he
So you're saying
needs
challenge him on
therapy.
what don't you believe about it?
Right, like I just feel like there was
And then
something
he
could have
tried
done.
to
I mean, it
disarm
was already 2 hours long.
By
So I'm
saying
not
that he
saying
goes to therapy, so Charlamagne told him that he goes to therapy.
I get it,
he
but
tried.
right.
So, but I don't think he's a brat. I don't think Kanye is a brat.
I do.
I think
he's a big
Kanye
brat.
has experienced something in his childhood and he's stuck there.
But what about the fashion stuff?
So
Why is he?
juvenile.
That's it. Juvenile, brat. They're
No,
cousins.
I don't feel like there's the same. Like, you're not just spoiled rotten. Your mama gave you whatever and let you say whatever. I feel like something happened that got you stuck in that place. Because we could say the same thing for Michael Jackson, but his story has been told to say that something happened and had you stuck there. Now, unfortunately, his mother isn't here to tell the story about his childhood and upbringing, and I personally don't know the story of Kanye.
So you think they
need
needed counseling together?
I think he needs to unpack.
But you
and
don't.
you're never
you
going
don't
to really
think
understand
that,
or see.
But
He
that's
said, you know, because what did
that's
he
the
say?
story of
what did
most-
he say?
of
What
most
did he say about therapy? He
single
said with
parent.
therapy, he didn't believe in therapy because he uses other people. And that means
Yeah.
that he called, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
he
he said
called
that.
somebody and talked to him for 45 minutes. Nigga, call.
And
your
meanwhile,
therapist.
I had my end of the phone on mute.
Right.
Right. Vacuuming the floor.
what
No, that's a conversation when you
But
want to go with
that's
somebody
it.
and like,
That's it right there.
You watching TV.
Right.
right.
But answer this.
No, I'm just
You don't
saying.
think that he is the result of Donda overcompensating because
His
his
father-
mother's name,
because
because
his
the
father-
father's not
yes,
there? That's
yes.
called a brat.
I know.
She
Oh, I'm not
overcompensated
I agree.
because his father wasn't there, and she gave him too much of the feminine stuff and not enough of the masculine stuff, and that's why he's
How
a
many
brat.
amazing black men
Plenty.
do you have in this world
Plenty.
that were raised by single black
But that
mothers?
doesn't
You're
mean
not
that
gonna
doesn't
use that as
mean
an
that
example.
there's women who
At
fuck
some
it
point-
up.
At some
That
point,
doesn't
something
mean there's
along
women who
his
fuck it
mental
up.
But guess
development
what?
There's a lot of people that go to jail and a lot of people that don't.
No, but look,
Like
but wait a
Luther's
minute,
Jerry
but-
curl.
You know what? Hold on, don't come for Luther. But wait a minute, but
Not
the other
big
thing,
Luther, skinny
no,
Luther.
not,
Didn't quite-
don't do it, don't do it.
She just-
You're not gonna
she-
talk about Luther
she-
tonight, not
she
tonight, not
just-
tonight, John,
Not any
not
night.
tonight, John Rule. Don't do it. But listen, but what I was gonna say is that one thing we did, what wasn't taken into account of wherever part he may be left in, whatever he missed out on or whatever, was his mental wellness. And I think that part of that, we don't know what the triggers are. We don't know. We in the dark. But
I think he is addicted to opioids, like he said. I don't
because
think
of the
it's
liposuction.
I don't know. Before he was using the pills before that. I don't think that he's mentally ill. I just think he has some issues because his mother's gone. I think he abuses substances, and I think that we've seen a result of that.
But
that's
mental-
it. It's that
mental-
simple. Because
mental-
college dropout Kanye wasn't like this.
First of all, that
We don't know.
But
No, he
we
wasn't.
don't know.
In the interviews, no. The interviews and his
We
public
don't
appearances,
know.
no, we do
But
know.
we don't know how it
I
shows
saw the
up.
interviews.
Right? You can have a trigger, you can grow into these things, right? You can have a series of very stressful life events, losing your mother, getting
Thank you.
married, having 3 kids.
Being married to
right?
Kim.
Like, it's a
Being
lot.
married to the
Thank you.
Kardashians.
And so,
enough to take you out.
that's the thing we need to take away.
That's
Mental
true.
illness doesn't mean that you were born with it.
Right.
Like you said, it
It
could
can
be
be
triggered,
right.
and it also doesn't mean that it has to necessarily have a diagnosis. You can just be mentally unstable because life has happened.
Right. And I think that one of the things he said in the interview was when he found himself, I guess when he found himself when he ended up in the
In
hospital.
the hospital.
And
Which time?
the time when, well, not the time with because he had the opioids, but I think it was right after the Taylor Swift. All of that stuff went down.
Right.
And he found himself in a hospital. And you can tell by even the way he moves through a conversation. Now I know we all do that. We jump from
But
this. But he
that's-
is literally all over the place. Like he'll jump from
Right.
one thing, and a lot of times it has
It's not
no
coherent.
relation.
Right.
Zero. And then he
And-
tried to say he was gonna connect them.
And he was gonna
it
connect
was-
it,
it
and
was
Charlamagne
really-
was like,
He's like,
I
how
wanna
you gonna
go back
connect the
to
fashion to Obama to Trump?
Trump.
How you gonna connect? It was just, And he didn't connect.
So I don't want to say I'm not. So let me scratch.
But
I'm not
he's
going to say
been
that
on,
Charlamagne
he's been
didn't
on
do a good job.
drugs.
I
He's
think
been
he
on
did a good
drugs
job.
since that car accident. And
Right.
the car accident happened when his mother was still alive.
Right.
So
True.
I'm just saying the drug use, just like Michael Jackson, just like Prince, they can hide it. It comes out, and sometimes you're surprised. What? He was on drugs? Because they got a lot of money and they can hide it. And like he said, he was sending his boys
Well, and there's
to fill
prescription.
prescriptions.
Yeah.
Right.
Prince sent people to fill prescriptions.
Absolutely.
Michael
Oh, yeah.
Jackson did. So it's just like this is drug use. It's
Absolutely.
just because he is
But
a
if
genius.
you are
He's
dealing
trying
with-
to stay up for a long time.
Right, but think about it. But I'm also, I feel like what you're saying as far as you don't know the triggers or what then get you there. What happens is sometimes, because I know people who are dealing with mental illness, that once they bring in drug use, that takes it to another level. So then that also brings on other triggers. So it's not just now you dealing with, you may have already had some sort of mental instability or whatever, but now the drug use then heightens it or takes it to another level.
That's right, because a lot of these drugs, the side effects are depression. The side effects are suicidal ideations. So the things that may have already been there to begin with are now heightened because they're the side effects of the drugs.
Right.
But you're using the drugs because it's numbing something else
Right.
and not paying attention to the other side effects that come with it.
Because just imagine hearing him speak. So in order to properly have a conversation, your brain is processing the thoughts before they come out of your mouth, hopefully. With him, it's so random
It is.
that you can only imagine in silence
There's no process.
what is going through his
He
head. Like,
just
it
talking.
feels like it's never off. Like it's just and some things like the conversation you and I had earlier could possibly be valid
That's
and
right.
make perfect
But you
sense.
can't slow down.
If you were in a process to explain
it
and
down.
articulate
That's
that
right.
effect,
You just
but
spitting
you
out
can't.
stuff.
That's right.
Because even when he tried
That's
to
right.
backtrack with the slavery comment, so I think any rational person could probably understand where he was trying to go. No, seriously. Because where his argument was,
What do you think the argument was?
so his argument was is that why didn't we more people revolt when there were so many of us and not as many as them? So that's
But
where
if
he
you
was
say
going.
That, it's totally different.
It's totally
Exactly.
different. But what you saying
Exactly.
is why you did it was a
You
choice.
just made a
It was
choice.
Like,
you just sat
But that's
there.
what she's saying. He didn't process that.
Right,
that's what
but
I'm
that's
saying.
our
No,
point.
that's what I'm saying.
But that's our point was that if
Being
he
able
had,
to articulate these
that's
things.
right.
And he did.
Because his mind is going too
So
fast.
right?
Yeah.
It's going
That's
too
what
fast.
happens, right? When you have a trauma history, right? When you're overly stressed, when you have these things in place, you can go to this really hyper place, right? Which is always on all the time, and then you can stay up there for so long, and then you crash back down into that hypo place, right?
That's right.
Into that place where like I'm so tired, I'm depressed, I can't move, I can't get out of bed, and we don't see that because
Yeah.
he's not giving interviews.
Right.
That's right.
So we can only speculate about how long he's staying up here, what substances he's using to keep him up here, because of this
That's
is a
right.
lot of times where the creative process happens, right? This place feels really good to
Right.
be in and to stay in for as long as you can, and then crashing back down to there. We didn't see him for a minute, right? There was
That's
some
right.
time that we really did
Yeah.
not see him.
And then
That's
with
right.
that time he saved us an
Looking
awful.
forward to
That's
that
right.
time coming back again.
Yeah, and I mean, and that,
Probably not in that way, but yeah, I get it.
yeah.
11 months.
Like I don't want him
need 11
depressed
more
in the
months.
bed, like not being able to.
No,
function.
it's really a sad, and I think that I think a lot of, I feel like the internet, of course, always take it to another level, make light of it and that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, people, we all know a family member
I
that's
was
like
just
this.
getting ready to say.
We know people in our, in our circle that we know people.
Do we
who
know
have
people?
dealt-
Can't make beats though.
I'm sorry.
Person in my circle.
The person can't make beats, but she just right.
She
No,
probably could.
but she might.
That
She
last
might.
record
She
is
could. Right.
beat about it, beat about it.
It's a Scooby Scoop.
So she
But-
might be on Kanye.
But we
Right,
don't
but we
know.
know the person who, is like super sensitive, right? So like, might have that low where you're just like, oh my God, like they
Right.
always get, or we know the person who's like grinding all the time and you're just like, damn, like you look at them and think, wow, but then they have these moments where they're just like, the world is gonna end. You're just like, but your life is so great.
Right.
Like, why are you
But-
so sad?
You gotta eat, you gotta
Because
sleep,
that's
you gotta
right.
do
But
nothing.
don't you reckon? I think the people that I know personally, and then of course if you look at the celebrity, I mean I don't know them personally, but people who are, I think, because I'm just thinking about the point you just made about this creative part. Like it takes a lot to go there to be that creative on that level, and I think, and some of us will never understand that because if that's not the realm that we operate in, that genius level of making masterpieces and coming out and everybody loves you and you're this and you're that, and to be on that high on a constant basis. That's why when I see sometimes certain, so it's,
But
my point is that when you're up there, And to come back down, it's like almost being on a mountaintop. If you like, especially like I think it's in the Bible, where it's like when you you have to come down to the valley. And sometimes the valley doesn't always have to be a crash and hope. Sometimes your valley can just be in stages.
That's right.
And so we're able to take ourselves through stages
right.
of getting to the valley, where we know the low is coming. We don't know how, but we're able to monitor when we get there. Some people go to the high and then the low.
But I also think back to your point though about when you are in alignment and you have gone through the transformation and you are grounded and centered or whatever, you can stay on that mountaintop in a way that isn't in a reckless way. You don't need substances. You don't need all this outside stuff, right? Because you have now the inner tools, right? You have your self-care plan, right? So you know that, okay, we're going to have these lows, but I don't need all this other stuff. Like I don't feel driven to stay there because of the outside world. I'm naturally going to get there because I'm in alignment.
I'm kind of
But it's sometimes people.
I don't have to stay there.
That's right.
Go ahead.
It's sometimes the people that's in your circle. Like, I feel like when they give you these $1 million contracts and they have certain type of stipulation, like you have to do this, you must do this. This is a part of your contract. I think a part of that contract should be having somebody who can give you those type of skills and therapy. Because I'm just thinking of it from a creative aspect. I do makeup. I love what I do. I love the high off of seeing my clients happy. I love when they look in the mirror and they're like, oh, I love this. This is beautiful. I'm so happy. It's an adrenaline rush. It truly is. So to have a craft that you're really good at, then to have an expectation of people, and then to think about that even for a public eye, thinking of my favorite Whitney Houston, like to have that, oh, you have to be the princess, you have to be all the time put together, you have to look like this, you have to walk, you have to talk like this. Who is the person to ever bring you back down and say, no, after you've done all of your creative genius work, come back? Sit down. I think we have people like Beyonce who she tells in many interviews and stories all the time that no, my mom has to sometimes check me and be like, when are you going to enjoy life? You've given so much of your craft to other people and you've been glorified for that. And we all know that you're great. However, if you were to leave this earth and then today was your last day, what have you done that really brought pleasure to you?
That's right.
What have you seen? What have you experienced? What have you done? So if there's nobody able to hold you accountable to live and to be healthy and to do wellness and to do self-care, then what do you do?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, if all they see is a dollar sign and you are this creative genius and being high and being this is going to give me what I want, no, it should be mandatory. You have to take 6 to 7 months off. No work. But when you studio,
and
no
so
creativity.
between that and then once you've done the work, the internal, the spiritual, the all that, then you won't even need a contract because it's gonna flow, and you're gonna say, you know what, I just toured for 2 years. Even for myself, I've taught, every day. I didn't miss a class. I did all this stuff. I'm done. I'm taking a break. Y'all don't even. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
Like what your limit.
Won't be off.
That's right. You know what your limits are.
Yeah, and I think that just going back to tell, I think that I appreciate you bringing in. I love learning about other ways of one self-care, but just this self-awareness, just understanding who you are as a person and what are those triggers that are maybe ailing your body or ailing your mind and that sort of thing. So I want to thank you for coming on tonight.
Thanks for
you were awesome. And so can you just tell the people real quickly how they can reach you if they're interested?
Yeah, well, Kanye, if you're we don't have to talk about the things. We could just do the work.
Right.
So Nourish Resilience. I know.
She's available.
NourishResilience.com is my website. And you could find me there. You could look up Tell Darden. My name is maybe on the website here somewhere, and it's got a pretty unique
put it up,
name.
yeah.
So but NourishResilience.com is how you find me, and then you can read more about what I do there. You can book there. You can learn more about what my clients have to say, and I'm on Facebook too. So, and maybe a little bit of Instagram, but I just post plant pictures because that's what brings me joy.
Okay.
It's a very serene space.
Right.
It's a very I went there. It's a very serene space. I just wanted to curl up and take a nap.
Yes. So
Very
thank
nice
you. We
space.
appreciate it. And
Thank
this
you
was a
all.
great
This was
show,
great.
ladies.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
I'm Krishna.
I'm Victoria.
And I'm Kristen.
Signing off.
And Tell.
All right, we're signing off, and we'll see you in